What's up, Sinister CyberCon? I'm Dan, known as Happy Death. I'm here to give you guys a tutorial or a demo on how to draw skulls or paint skulls or vice versa. Long story short, a lot of people have asked me how I've done it, and now's your chance to see. I may be able to finish this before the end or not. If not, I will post a picture of the finished work as well. One of the things you got to know when you do a skull, you can't just draw skull eyes, a nose, and teeth. There's features on the face that have the bone structures that you can automatically use. For instance, your eyebrows, right above the eyebrow line bone here. So you can use a pencil like I use here, and I like to just outline the structure where I think the socket would be originally. Now keep in mind, the human eyeball is a lot bigger than what you see inside the eye itself. I use the eyebrows as the top of the ridge so I don't have to draw. Noses are done many different ways. I've seen upside down hearts, but keep in mind, when you have a nose, there's always a bridge. Remember the bridge. If you don't remember the bridge, it just looks silly. It looks like a cartoon skull. Now right here, you would have a lot of cartilage in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw a little half circle underneath the nostril here. Same here. And then for the teeth, I won't put the teeth in until later. But keep in mind, when you have full cheeks like this, you're going to have to use a lot of shadowing to make it look like it's in depth for the teeth. So you're going to do two little marks here, right above the corner of the mouth, because that's usually right where the teeth, the jawline, goes to the back. Now what I'm doing here is I'm drawing the jaw bones. And if you follow the cheek, right here where it's the puffiest, meaning where it sticks out the most, that's usually where the cheekbone of the skull is. And make sure I got an even deal here, which I don't. I'll just bring this one up a little bit and bring it down. And this is why I like to draw it in first. So that way I can find out what I need to fix instead of just going right into it. So right now I'm drawing the jawbone. And one of the things I like to do when I draw the jawbone is the bone's going to go up in here for the jaw. I like to leave one line here, one line here. This is going to be your outside jaw. This is going to be your inside jaw. And the reason why we're doing that, this inside jaw will be shadowed to make it look like it's sunken into the cheek when there's actually the same surface here. Do this. So tonight, I'm going to be using watercolors because it's quick and easy. I'm using Krylon. You can use whatever you like, whatever you prefer. I just prefer the Krylon over most the brands that are out there. Now, I've taken a foundation brush. I've chopped the tips of it off. A little trick and technique I learned from Michelle Gore from More Gore. Shout out to her. She does some pretty killer work herself. Now, what I like to do is I just like to stab the forehead. And this is awesome when you're doing makeup on somebody who doesn't do their homework every day, so you can just be as aggressive as you want, and it really doesn't hurt them. And I'm just going to go around what I outlined. You don't really want to go more than that, because then you're going to muddy up your darker makeups, your lighter makeups. And don't worry if you don't cover it all, because a bone is not completely white. That's another thing that kills me in makeup. When I see people do a completely white skeleton or skull, and you're just like, well, did you bleach the bones? Now you notice I'm not going to do the lips right now. I'm going to come back and do those later. And don't worry about cover and anchor guidelines. That doesn't matter. The only thing that they're there for is guides. So you remember where to place your detail, your shadowing, and your stuff that you can't remember on your own. And so I'm going to go a little bit lighter in the parts where I want to go deeper into the shadowing, that I want to put out more of a 3D area. Give me a second while I clean my brush off. Okay, now I'm working with a little bit of orange, a little bit of yellow. Same brands, just a little bit, it's just a lid falling on the ground. Don't worry about that noise. Nobody's actually getting hurt. My brush is just a little too wet. You don't want it too runny, because when it gets too runny, then you have to wait longer for it to dry. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get a nice bone color. So the oranges and the yellow will blend well with the white. I still have too much. There we go. I think that'll do it. Yeah. So if you can see that, this is kind of the texture we're looking to get. And you can just put it anywhere you want. Doesn't matter. What we're trying to do is we're just trying to break that white up, because we're going to come back in this with detail later. And all this will wash away. At least that's what we hope, right? Now, if you've noticed how that completely broke all that white up, it's not as bright. What's nice about this also is if you take your finger or a blender and move that around, you'll see you'll get different shapes, different hues. And you'll also get some really nice bone texture in there as well. Okay, for the teeth, I try to pick out the most rounded brush I can. I'm going to show you the easiest way to paint teeth. Use the curve end. You know you're going to have your two front teeth here and here, unless you've got a gap. Or the two bottom teeth are usually going to be a lot smaller than the top teeth. So what I like to do is I like to start in the first. So right here in the middle of the nose is where your first two are going to go. Just take the bottom end, lift up like this, and then you got your teeth. I know some of you are probably like, but it's white. That's okay, because the white we're going to teethen up later as far as color. Now another thing I like to do is I like to take the bottom half when I go up and twist to the side, and you get a nice little line. And that could be used for the root of the tooth when you come back in detail. It just gives it more dimension. Is it anatomically correct? Probably not. But you know what? I don't care. I like the way it looks. Okay, so I'm not going to do too much teeth on the sides here right away. But I do know this is where I want to follow the line here. Right here is where I want it to stop, where that line is. So this right here is going to be your black, and this is where it's going to fade into your sink in. So now what's nice about this little part, it doesn't matter how good the teeth look in the back, because most of it's going to be shadow, and you want it to look like they're stacked behind the front teeth. So that way when you get a full-on face view, it looks like the teeth are getting smaller in the back, even though they're the biggest in the front, bigger than the front in real life. All right. I'm going to outline his face. I like to cheat a little bit. I use this stuff called, I don't know what that's called. It's just a black eyeliner pen from L'Oreal. I use a couple other ones from Evangeline's I like. I'll show you those in a minute. But with this, I like to come in and just redraw my lines where it's going to be. And what's nice about these pens is that you can get up here and do all this work. And if you notice, it doesn't smear. Right? Now, I have an influence of a gentleman named Pusshead. He's the one who got me started with skulls. You probably know his work from any Metallica cover you've seen anywhere. He used to have an old band called Septic Death back in the 80s. Yeah, I'm old. But it was a good band. I don't know why they didn't take off. I mean, if you were into that kind of thing. So you'll see some of his influences on this. And that's fine too. You can do your own influences. You don't have to do it exactly like me. This is just pretty much a detail part. Now, if you notice, this one is rougher than this one. The reason why I did that is because once I find a shape over here I like, then I'll come back over here to this one, and then I'll add the rougher images in here that I think that it would need, to, you know, just to make it look a little more jagged and even. Okay, so now we're going to come in here and start on this jawbone. Now, I don't like to use straight lines because by nature we don't. I'm going to go ahead and start detailing these teeth in. And remember, teeth aren't perfect. Go ahead and look in your own jaw in the bathroom and see how perfect your teeth are. So it doesn't matter how you do the teeth. Just make sure they get smaller towards the back than they do the front. And there's that line I was telling you about. Okay. Now there's something that Pusshead does. He likes to draw his roots longer and then adds like these little cool details in there. And some of those details can be like excess bone. Some of them look like tooth decay, which is pretty cool. So I kind of incorporate a little bit of that in both of them. Usually the teeth are the longest to take to get used to doing. But if you sit down with a piece of paper and practice these, you'll be a pro in no time. All right. And remember, no two sides of the face look exactly the same. Again, if you don't believe me, look in the mirror. You'll be a little surprised. Put that down like this, like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in this the black stuff here with more black. Then we'll come back in with more pigment. So if you see, you don't want it too runny, because when it's too runny, well, that's a bad example. When it's too runny, it doesn't give you a clear, there you go. See how it doesn't give you a clear, even. So then if you keep building up and building up and building up, what happens is it'll flake and get too cakey. You don't want that. Go ahead and look up for me. If you can, try to get all the flesh color inside that nose. All right. Go ahead and relax. You put your face back down. Now, there is one thing about the black when you use the watercolor. Sometimes it comes out too shiny, and you can dumb that down with a little bit of black charcoal, or you can even use talcum powder. Okay, go ahead and close your eye. Another reason why you don't want it too runny is because if you put it in their eyeball here like I'm doing, it could run right into their eyes themselves, and it's pretty uncomfortable. Nobody wants that. Go ahead and look up. Now some people freak out on this part. Come on, bud. Just like we used to do it. There we go. But don't worry about that. You can always work around it. Close your eye. More water here. Look up. Now, one of the things that I like using is alcohol paints. Just look up. Look inside your head. Can you see your brain? Mm-mm. Oh, you're not looking hard enough. All right, you're good. This alcohol paint sometimes takes too long. So if you're doing a demo that isn't online and you didn't do any pre-makeup to get it ready beforehand, this is a great alternative, the watercolors. And right now what I'm doing, let me turn his head sideways. I'm gonna start a little bit of my shadowing for the depth that I was talking about earlier. So you always want the darkest part on the lines. And I'll show you how to break that up later. Now you can use your brush like I'm doing right now and get the rest of that shape in. Excuse me, folks. We have a visitor. Nope. I lied. Camera shy, I guess. I'm going to come over here on this side, do the same exact thing I just did over there. And if the white bleeds into the black, when you get towards the teeth here, that is exactly what you want. That is not a problem, because that's what's going to help you give your values from your light to your dark shades. And using the skin tone sometimes helps too. It really gives a nice natural feel to what you're doing. Okay. Okay, so this product here is an eye liner, but I use it for detailing. What's nice about this is waterproof. It's very, very dark, and it comes from Nikki Star Cosmetics. If you get a chance, check them out. They've got some really cool stuff. Now, what I like to do with the product here is this is where I like to come in with my fine detailing stuff, get my points. And if you're ever working on set and you need something where the actor or actresses or the talent, whatever you guys like to call them, sweats a lot, this stuff is great for that because it doesn't sweat off. At least I haven't experienced it in any of the times that I've worked with it. Use a little bit of that, just bring this down to the shadow here. Please forgive me if I don't keep talking. Sometimes I just get into a little zone and I go into it, and other times I have no idea what else to say. As you can see, that spreads around real nicely. It gets in there real dark, which I really like because it really breaks up the teeth and the jawline. Now, some of the stuff you see me doing right now is not actually part of a skull. They're just little line details I like to add because I just like the way they look. And it helps add some dimension to what you're doing. If you don't have any dimension in any of your artwork, whether it be painting, makeup, whatever it is, it's going to fall flat every time. And one of the hardest things to do is know when you put enough on. Sometimes I'm guilty of doing too much. One of the things you see me doing here is, this is me shadowing or blending, I guess is a good way to say it. And with this blending, it helps give me a little bit more depth, a little bit more structure into the picture itself, the painting, the makeup. And you don't really have to do a lot, because this little bit you see me doing does a lot. There's really not a lot of I don't know what I want to say here. Chase. Not a lot of effort to make something look like a lot, and you didn't put a lot of effort into it. And whether you use the black, red, orange, blue, it doesn't really matter what color you're using to do your shadowing. All works the same way. Good, look at me. All right. So you don't want to put everything exactly in the same spot, but you don't want to make it too uneven, because then it just looks funny. And your eye focuses in on that. Hey, that doesn't look right. Don't worry about all this right in here, because we're going to go back in there and we're going to blend that with a different color. Right up. So I'm going to kind of give him a butt chin. You don't really have to do a butt chin. The only reason why I like to do a butt chin is because it just makes it look like the end of the makeup, which I like. Now, one of the things that you're going to want to do if you ever do a makeup like this is you're going to want to do the neck too, but we don't have time for that, or maybe we do, I don't know. I'm just doing the head. And the reason why you want to do the neck, go ahead, keep it up, is because it makes it look complete. Like you did a complete makeup. Nothing's worse than looking at a makeup going, is that it? What else are you going to do? Because, you know, every makeup artist loves that question. What else are you going to do to it? What do you mean you're done? Good drop. All right, guys, what I'm doing right now is I'm getting some red so I can start blending a little bit of red in there. The reason why I put the red in the eye is because I don't like complete black eyes. Again, it brings out that cartoonish look to me. One of the things you want to remember about doing makeup is unity and contrast. You want things to move your eyes around the actual picture. Sorry about that. The cow's about ready to start eating food, and you don't want to hear that on the film. I do apologize for my setup here. This is out of my kitchen / game room. Lighting is kind of poor, but we're doing the best we can. Hopefully you guys are getting a good shot of all this stuff. There's no right or wrong way to do the makeup. You guys will find a style that you like, and you will adapt it to your own. I use a lot of different people's styles. I learn, and I learn, and I learn. Never stop learning new things, because it can only help you out in the long run. And if it doesn't help you out for whatever reason, then you just don't use that technique. You can go on to the next. That's the part of learning, is adapting new things and using them at the best of your ability. Alrighty. So, I think I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of detail things. Alrighty, so my cream does not want to work. Of course it doesn't. Why would it want to work? Alright. Okay, so I got to kind of get this kind of creamy. There we go. Go ahead and look up. So I'm going to do with this here is like to go around the edges for highlighting. You don't necessarily want to trace every single thing, because not everything is going to be highlighted. But what you're doing is you're just trying to get a few of those cracks, a couple of those little shadows. You notice how that white just makes that pop so much more? Need more water. Another cool thing I like to do with the white is drop my paintbrush on the ground and grab another paintbrush and do highlights in the actual darkness. You kind of outline the red a little bit like this. Just gives it another dimension. There's that word again, dimension. Seem to like that word a lot, don't I? All right, let me doctor these teeth up a little bit, just because I don't like the way they look. Putting a little yellow in there, just so they're not so white. Because people with super white teeth is unnatural, man. They do a lot of bleaching to get them that white. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this red and I'm going to go over the roots. Go ahead and turn it up a little bit. And try to make that stand out just a little bit more. Like there was, you know, old tooth decay, blood, whatever you want to call it. As Bob Ross would probably say, happy little flesh hangers. That fell flat. That's okay though. Just a little too much, but that's okay. Tricky spots. Let's move that around a little bit there. And we've got some up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some red around other areas. So that way, when you see the red, your eye doesn't just get fixated on that one spot. Alrighty. I think my time is up, guys. But what you can see here, a little smudge. Let me fix that real quick before I talk to you more. All right. See that? A little bit of white. Dumbs a lot of stuff down. Alrighty. So you see up here, if you work a hunt or you're doing makeup that you want to do for yourself, I leave a spot on the forehead so I can put a symbol, a name, words, whatever. If you weren't going to do that, I would bring these lines up around the eyebrow lines a little bit farther. And then up here is a crack that goes this way and a crack that goes that way. And I would kind of incorporate that into the makeup itself. And it all depends on what the person you're creating the makeup for wants, or what you're actually looking for, what your top design is. And with that, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me into your home. And I hope you guys have a happy Mother's Day. Thank you. I'm out.